Have you ever looked at your life and wondered why things had to unfold the way they did? Why certain doors closed, why people left, or why plans that once felt so certain suddenly collapsed? Every one of us carries moments like that. Moments that make us question the direction of our journey. It's in those times, when life feels uncertain and unpredictable, that our minds begin to search for meaning. We want answers. We want to understand. Yet perhaps the meaning isn't lost. It's just waiting for us to see it differently. What if life isn't actually falling apart, but quietly rearranging itself to guide you toward awakening? What if the heartbreaks, the endings, and the moments of silence aren't punishments, but gentle corrections, life's way of placing you where you're meant to be? In Buddhism, we're reminded that nothing is random. Every shift, every delay, every unexpected turn is part of a larger unfolding, one that reveals its wisdom only when we stop fighting against it. The chaos you feel may not be a sign of failure. It might be the sound of transformation beginning. So tonight, as we explore this teaching, I invite you to let go of the need to understand everything right now. Just breathe, listen, and allow the words to meet you where you are. Because hidden within every change is a quiet purpose. And when we learn to trust that purpose, even confusion begins to feel like a form of grace. Lesson 1: The hidden design behind uncertainty. There are moments when life seems to lose its order, when everything you once depended on starts to change and the path ahead becomes unclear. You try to make sense of it, to find logic in the timing of events, but the answers don't come. It's in these moments that we feel most powerless, as if life has turned its back on us. Yet Buddhism invites us to see this differently. It teaches that nothing happens without cause and condition. Just as every wave is born from the movement of the ocean, every experience arises from a chain of circumstances stretching far beyond what we can see. What appears to be chaos is often the gentle unfolding of a greater harmony, one that doesn't rush to reveal its pattern until the right moment. We often believe that control brings safety. We plan, we predict, and we cling to our expectations, hoping they will protect us from disappointment. But when life moves in another direction, our struggle against it becomes the source of our suffering. The Buddhist path doesn't ask us to surrender our choices. It asks us to surrender our illusion of control. When we begin to observe life instead of forcing it, we see that even uncertainty has structure. Every setback, every delay, every unanswered question is like a thread being woven into a design too vast for the human eye to perceive. The peace we long for isn't found by solving the puzzle. It's found by trusting that the puzzle has meaning. Acceptance, then, is not weakness. It's wisdom. It is the quiet strength of one who understands that the river knows its own direction. When we stop trying to redirect the current, we begin to float with life instead of against it. In that stillness, fear softens into understanding. What once looked like confusion starts to resemble choreography. Life is not random. It is responsive, alive, and deeply intelligent. The more we trust its hidden design, the more we realize that uncertainty is not the enemy of peace. It's the doorway through which peace finally enters. Lesson 2: The purpose of suffering. Pain as the great teacher. Pain arrives in every life, uninvited yet unavoidable. We spend so much energy trying to run from it, to bury it beneath distractions or deny its presence. But no matter how far we run, it finds us, because it isn't our enemy. In Buddhism, pain is not seen as punishment, but as purification. It is the flame that burns away illusion, pride, and attachment, revealing what is real beneath all the layers we hide behind. When life wounds us, it isn't because we've done something wrong. It's because the soul is being refined, softened into compassion, strengthened through understanding, and shaped into wisdom. Pain, in its mysterious way, cleanses the heart so it can hold light more clearly. Every wound carries a hidden message. Behind heartbreak lies the lesson of letting go. Within failure hides the wisdom of humility. Even grief, though it feels unbearable, teaches us how deeply we can love. The mind says, "Why me?" But the heart quietly answers, "Because this is how you grow." The Buddha once taught that suffering is the doorway to awakening, not because pain itself is holy, but because of what it reveals when we finally stop running. It shows us who we are beneath our resistance. It reminds us that life isn't meant to stay smooth, but to sculpt us into something more aware, more tender, and more awake. So when something hurts, don't rush to escape it. Sit with it for a moment. Breathe into it. Whisper inwardly, "This too is teaching me." Every tear, every disappointment, every silent night of struggle holds a seed of transformation. With time, the same pain that once felt unbearable becomes the reason you understand others more deeply, love more freely, and live with greater peace. Pain may visit as a storm, but it always leaves behind clearer skies. It comes not to destroy you, but to dissolve what was never truly you. When you face it with open eyes, pain turns from a tormentor into a teacher, and through it, you step closer to liberation. Lesson 3. Expanding the container. The salt and water parable. There's an old Buddhist story of a master and his student. One day, the student came to the master, overwhelmed by disappointment and sorrow. "Why is life so bitter?" he asked. The master listened quietly, then handed the student a handful of salt and asked him to dissolve it in a glass of water. When the student took a sip, he grimaced. The water was unbearably bitter. The master then led him to a nearby lake and asked him to throw the same handful of salt into it. When he did, the master told him to drink again. This time, the water tasted fresh. The master smiled and said, "The amount of salt in life never changes. What changes is the size of the container you hold it in." This is the essence of perspective. The bitterness of life remains the same. Loss, uncertainty, pain, they visit everyone. But our capacity to hold them can grow. When your world feels small, even a single hardship can fill it completely. But when your awareness expands, when you see yourself as part of something larger than your current struggle, the bitterness begins to dissolve. The same pain that once seemed unbearable becomes manageable, even meaningful. Expanding your container doesn't mean denying the pain. It means allowing more space around it, more kindness, more patience, more understanding. Each time life tests you, you have a choice: to shrink into the pain or to grow around it. Widen your perspective. See your challenges not as isolated moments of suffering, but as threads in a much greater tapestry. The more space you give your pain, the less it controls your taste of life. Try it the next time you feel overwhelmed. Take a breath and remind yourself, this pain is not the whole of me. It's just a handful of salt in a vast lake. When you live with that awareness, bitterness loses its power, and what remains is the gentle clarity of water, still, open, and ready to reflect the sky. Lesson 4. Chaos as the catalyst for transformation. When life feels calm and predictable, it's easy to believe we're growing. But in truth, growth rarely happens in comfort. It happens when everything stable begins to shake. Chaos arrives like a storm. It tears through what we thought was secure and leaves us standing in the unknown. Yet if we look closely, chaos doesn't come to destroy. It comes to awaken. Without storms, nothing evolves. The Buddha taught that impermanence is not a threat, but a teacher. When life rearranges itself, it's showing us what was never truly under our control, and what within us is ready to be reborn. Every disruption has a hidden purpose. When routines break, awareness returns. When plans collapse, creativity awakens. When people leave, space opens for new understanding. Chaos pulls us out of autopilot and forces us to feel, to see, to question. It reminds us that life was never meant to stay still. It's a living, breathing process of becoming. Just as the caterpillar must dissolve completely before turning into a butterfly, parts of us must also dissolve before we can take flight. It's uncomfortable, sometimes painful, but always meaningful. The very things we label as falling apart are often what pull us back into deeper consciousness. So the next time life feels uncertain, take a quiet breath and whisper, "Thank you." Not because you enjoy the difficulty, but because you understand what it brings. Chaos is shaping you, sanding away what no longer serves you, carving out the space for something new. Every trial is an invitation to awaken a strength that calm days could never reveal. You are not being undone, you are being remade. And when the storm finally clears, you'll see that it wasn't there to punish you. It was preparing you to become someone who can stand peacefully, even when the wind returns. Lesson 5. The Seed and the Darkness. Every seed begins its journey in darkness. Buried beneath the soil, surrounded by pressure and silence, it seems to vanish from sight. Yet it's there, in that hidden place, that transformation begins. The seed doesn't resist the darkness. It surrenders to it. It allows itself to break open, to dissolve, to lose its old form completely. Only by doing so can it push upward toward the light. In the same way, growth in our lives often requires a kind of burial, a season where everything familiar falls away. We may feel lost, forgotten, or uncertain of who we're becoming, but beneath that uncertainty, something new is quietly forming. The breaking of the old self is not destruction, it's birth. Buddhism teaches that every ending is simply the beginning of a new becoming. The pain you feel when life falls apart is the sound of old attachments cracking, making space for wisdom to take root. When identity, certainty, or comfort dissolve, it's not life being cruel. It's life teaching you how to expand. The same darkness that seems to hide you is actually nurturing your next chapter. The seed never doubts that the soil will lead it to sunlight. It simply trusts the process. You are being asked to do the same, to trust that what feels like breaking is, in truth, the body of your becoming. So when you find yourself in the dark, take a breath and whisper, "What in me is trying to sprout through this darkness?" Let that question soften your fear. Don't rush to escape. Allow the stillness to do its quiet work. Growth is rarely visible while it's happening, but in time, every buried seed rises. The darkness doesn't last forever. It's only the cradle of new light. Lesson 6. The butterfly's struggle. Strength through effort. In a quiet forest, a monk once noticed a cocoon trembling on a branch. Inside, a butterfly was struggling to break free. Its small body pressed against the shell, again and again, without success. The monk, moved by compassion, gently tore open the cocoon to help. The butterfly emerged easily, but its wings were weak, its body fragile. It never learned to fly. The effort it needed to escape the cocoon was not cruelty. It was preparation. The struggle itself was the very process that would have strengthened its wings. Without resistance, there could be no flight. This story mirrors the way life teaches us. We often wish our journey were easier, smoother, free of obstacles. But ease doesn't always serve us, because strength is born through friction. Every challenge, every failure, every moment of resistance in your life is shaping the unseen muscles of your spirit. When life feels heavy, it's not trying to break you, it's training you. Buddhism reminds us that the path to awakening isn't about escaping difficulty. It's about meeting it with awareness and compassion. Each struggle invites us to awaken qualities that comfort never calls forth: patience, resilience, courage, humility. Without those qualities, we remain half-formed, like the butterfly that never flew. We live in a culture that worships comfort, that teaches us to fix, avoid, and escape whatever feels painful. Yet the truth is that what feels like resistance is often where transformation lives. The storms you resist are strengthening your wings. The failures that disappoint you are revealing where you are still attached to perfection. Even heartbreak, the kind that leaves you breathless, teaches you how deeply you are capable of loving. Nothing is wasted when you face it consciously. The struggle itself becomes sacred when you meet it without bitterness, when you say, "This is not here to punish me, it's here to prepare me." So instead of asking life to take away the challenge, ask life to help you grow through it. When difficulty appears, breathe and whisper, "I am learning to fly." That single shift from resistance to trust changes everything. It turns pain into purpose, chaos into strength, and effort into awakening. One day, you'll look back and see that every challenge you faced was forming the wings that would one day carry you beyond the very limits you once feared. The cocoon was never your prison, it was your classroom. And now, because of the struggle, you are ready to soar. Lesson 7. Dharma, the invisible order of life. There are moments when life feels like it's moving out of rhythm, when everything we planned begins to drift beyond our control. We wonder if we've taken a wrong turn, if fate has forgotten us, or if the universe is silent. But in Buddhism, there is a quiet truth beneath all movement. Everything unfolds according to Dharma, the natural law that governs all existence. It's the invisible order holding the universe together, the same force that guides the stars in their orbits, the rivers in their flow, and the seasons in their change. Life moves in harmony with an unseen balance, one that doesn't rush, doesn't delay, and never makes a mistake in timing. Nothing in this world arrives too soon or too late. Every experience ripens in its own perfect moment. Think of how nature operates. The tree doesn't bloom before spring. The tides don't rise before the moon calls them. Everything moves in rhythm, responding to causes and conditions far greater than its own will. We are part of that same rhythm, though the mind often forgets. It wants to control, to force, to decide when and how things should happen. But Dharma invites us to trust the unfolding, to see that what we call delay might simply be alignment in progress. Sometimes life withholds what you want until you're ready to receive it. Sometimes it closes a door because your path must bend toward a deeper purpose. Even what feels like stillness or stagnation is part of the dance. It's the pause before transformation moves again. When you learn to trust the rhythm of events, peace begins to replace anxiety. You start to see that every step, even the missteps, are guiding you toward greater understanding. The person who hurt you was part of your lesson in compassion. The job you lost became your teacher in resilience. The silence that frustrates you today might be the soil from which your next calling grows. Dharma doesn't promise comfort, it promises coherence. When you surrender to its timing, you begin to feel that the universe isn't random. It's remarkably precise. So the next time life seems delayed, breathe deeply and remind yourself, even this moment has a purpose. The river is still flowing, and you are exactly where the current needs you to be. Lesson 8. The illusion of control. From the moment we're young, we're taught to believe that control is power. We're told to make plans, set goals, and hold tightly to our vision of how life should unfold. And for a while, it works, until life reminds us who's really in charge. Relationships end without warning, opportunities vanish, and plans collapse overnight. In those moments, we feel betrayed by the very idea of control. But Buddhism teaches something liberating. Control is the mind's favorite illusion. We can guide our actions, but we cannot command the results. Life moves through countless unseen causes and conditions, far beyond our reach. The more we try to control every outcome, the more we suffer, because we're fighting the natural rhythm of impermanence. True wisdom isn't about tightening your grip. It's about learning when to release it. There's a deep peace in realizing that you don't need to make everything happen. You only need to meet what happens wisely. You can plant the seed, but you cannot order the rain. You can give your best effort, but you can't force the harvest. The Buddhist path calls this right effort, acting with clarity and sincerity, without attachment to the result. When you shift from control to cooperation with life, anxiety begins to fade. You stop demanding that life follow your script and start discovering what the moment is actually offering. So the next time things don't go according to plan, take a breath and whisper, "I'll meet what happens wisely." Let that be your mantra. It's not surrendering to weakness, it's surrendering to truth. When you release the illusion of control, you don't lose power, you gain presence. You move from forcing outcomes to flowing with causes. Life becomes less about pushing and more about participating. And in that participation, you find something the controlling mind can never create: a calm trust in the intelligence of the unfolding. Lesson 9. Flowing instead of forcing. Life is full of moments that test our patience, times when we push, strive, and fight to make things happen exactly as we planned. Yet the harder we force, the more resistance we feel. The ancient principle of Wu Wei in Buddhism and Taoism offers a different way. It means action without struggle, or effortless alignment with the natural flow of life. Imagine a river moving through mountains. It doesn't argue with the rocks. It finds its way around them. It adapts, it bends, it keeps moving, never losing its direction, yet never wasting energy in resistance. When we learn to act like water, to move with conditions rather than against them, our lives become less about control and more about cooperation with the moment. We often confuse flow with passivity, but they are not the same. Flow is not doing nothing. It's doing the right thing at the right time with the right energy. It's listening before acting, sensing before pushing. When you move with awareness, you begin to notice that life offers cues. Sometimes the path opens effortlessly. Other times it asks you to pause. When you ignore those signals and try to force progress, frustration appears. But when you trust the rhythm of events, your actions align naturally with what wants to unfold. That alignment feels peaceful, yet powerful, a state where you act without strain, create without tension, and grow without fear. Like water, you can adapt to each moment's shape while staying true to your essence. You don't need to change who you are. You only need to flow around what you cannot move. If life blocks one path, it's guiding you to another. If doors close, perhaps it's because your journey has shifted course. The goal is not to dominate the current, but to dance with it. So when you find yourself forcing, stop and breathe. Ask softly, what is life showing me right now? Then listen. The answer will come not in noise, but in stillness. Flowing instead of forcing doesn't make life easier, it makes it wiser. And in that wisdom, you discover that peace was never the absence of effort. It was the art of moving gracefully within it. Lesson 10. Peace within uncertainty. There is a quiet truth at the heart of life. Nothing is ever certain. The future refuses to be tamed, and even our best plans live on shifting ground. We spend so much of our energy trying to predict, manage, and secure what comes next, believing that certainty is safety. But the more we chase it, the more it slips away. Buddhism teaches that peace doesn't come from removing uncertainty. It comes from learning how to rest within it. Life is like standing at the edge of a vast ocean. You can't see where the waves will carry you, but you can learn to float. Serenity begins the moment you stop demanding guarantees and start trusting your ability to meet whatever arises. Think back on your life. How many times has the unknown turned out to be a gift? The relationship that ended made space for real love. The job you lost led you to your purpose. The delay you resented turned into protection you didn't see at the time. What once felt like chaos was often just life rearranging itself to make room for something truer. The unknown is not your enemy. It's the field where possibility lives. Every great transformation begins there, in the space beyond your comfort zone. When you stop fighting uncertainty, you begin to see it not as a threat, but as a companion, one that walks beside you, teaching trust with every step. The goal isn't to control the future, it's to trust your capacity to meet it. When the path ahead disappears, take a breath and return to the present moment. That's where your strength lives. Peace grows when you no longer need to know what comes next to feel safe. You start to realize that the same intelligence that guides the stars and seasons is guiding you too. So when the future feels blurry, don't rush to fix it. Sit quietly and whisper to yourself, I may not know where this is going, but I know I'll find my way. That simple faith transforms fear into calm. In the stillness of uncertainty, peace is not missing. It's waiting to be noticed. As this journey draws to a close, remember this simple truth. Nothing in your life has been wasted. Every experience, whether soft and kind or sharp and painful, has been shaping the person you are becoming. Even when everything feels uncertain, life still follows a deeper order. The same wisdom that guides the stars and tides is quietly at work within your own story. Chaos may seem random from where you stand, but from the view of awareness, it's just another rhythm in the grand song of existence. When you learn to trust that order, peace begins to take root. Not because life becomes easier, but because you no longer demand that it be perfect. So the next time your plans collapse, or something doesn't go the way you hoped, don't rush to fill the silence or fix the cracks. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself softly, what truth is this revealing? That question alone can turn confusion into understanding and resistance into clarity. Every challenge, every delay, every loss carries a quiet teaching meant only for you. The lesson is never in the noise. It's in the stillness that follows, when you finally stop fighting and begin to listen. May you meet what arrives with steadiness. May you release what leaves with grace. And may you trust that wisdom is already guiding your steps, even when the path feels hidden. There is a quiet order moving through your life, always kind, always precise, always leading you home to yourself. If this reflection brought calm to your heart, share it with someone who might need stillness tonight. Sometimes a few peaceful words are all it takes to help another soul find balance. And if you wish to continue walking this path together, join this space of quiet understanding, where we learn again and again to trust the rhythm of life.